Hello there, it's Mrs. Tremblay, and it is time for some social studies. Again, we're going to look at two explorers today. We're going to cover sections 5.5 and 5.6. So you're going to need your textbook. You're going to open up your book to page 52. That is page 52. And you need your chapter 5 packet, please. We're going to be looking at those 6 things for Hernan Cortez and Jacques Cartier. That's who we're looking at today. So, if you don't have all of your things ready, press pause and get all of those things ready, and let us begin. And I'm going to help read this to you, and you can follow along as I read. If you wanted to, you could have a little sticky note, jot any questions down on the side. You can ask me during class once I see you face to face, or you could send me a little message if you have questions after this as well. First off, I'm hoping you're noticing, there's a map right there. So we can go ahead in our chapter 5 packet, and again, we're on Hernan Cortez. We're gonna fill this part out right here, route of exploration. So here's the map. You can see there's Florida. There are all those little islands here. We're kind of at the middle one that I see with an arrow over down here. So I'm gonna go ahead, and on my map, I'm gonna do my best to show what that is showing, and it looks like that to me. So again, that is what you're copying onto here. Okay, so let's be looking for his job, his sponsor, when, what motivated him, and what impacts he had. And we can pause and list those things as we go. Okay, Spaniards looking for gold heard stories of a rich Mexican empire. In 1519, Hernan Cortez, a Spanish nobleman living in Cuba, sailed to Mexico to conquer a native people called the Aztecs. He wanted adventure, gold, and silver. That paragraph just gave us a ton of information. First of all, it says in 1519, that's when he set sail. So under dates, the starting year is going to be 1519. And we'll find out when it ended eventually. All right, next, it says that he was a Spanish nobleman. So under occupation, you're going to write that. You can just write nobleman. Nobleman. And you might be thinking, well, what's that? It's basically someone that was born into a very high social class. Social class meaning born into a lot of money, a high economic status. So a nobleman is someone that was born into wealth. So I don't know that he had to work too much. Okay, so there you go. A new word for today. It says he wanted adventure, gold, and silver. Those are motives right there. So under motives, we're gonna say adventure. And you can say riches if you'd like. I'm gonna be specific and just say gold and silver. Either is fine by me. Okay, I think that's all it said. It's got 3 things out of one tiny little paragraph. All right, second paragraph, Cortez first met the Aztecs on the exact day that the Aztecs believed a god would attack them. Thinking Cortez was this god, they sent gold to convince him to leave. The gold just made Cortez more determined to conquer them. Cortez marched to the Aztec capital, a beautiful city on an island in a lake where Mexico City is today. When the emperor invited him in, Cortez took the emperor prisoner. For 6 months, Cortez quietly held the Aztec emperor prisoner in his own city. Then, after a short trip away from the Aztec capital, Cortez returned. As he entered the city, the Aztecs attacked. Cortez and his army were surrounded by fierce Aztec warriors. The Spaniards fled the city. Before leaving, they stuffed their pockets with gold. Many of them were so heavily weighted down with gold that they drowned in the dark waters of the lake. Sounds like some greed going on there. After their defeat, Spaniards surrounded the Aztec capital for nearly a year. So we have the Aztec capital, they're surrounding them. Many of the Aztecs had been weakened or killed by smallpox, a European disease. So that's one of those contagious diseases that was brought over. and began to starve to death. When Cortez and his army attacked, the Aztec warriors put up a strong defense. Nevertheless, they were finally defeated in 1521. The Spaniards now ruled all of Mexico. The mighty Aztec Empire lay in ruins. An Aztec poet wrote a sad poem about the mistreatment of his people. We are crushed to the ground. We lie in ruins. There is nothing but grief and suffering in Mexico, where we once saw beauty and valor. A lot of sad stories going on with these explorations. I know. All right, so first off, there's a couple things that we never finished labeling over here. It did say that Spaniards looking for gold heard stories when we started off up here. It is Spain that sponsored him. So we're gonna go ahead under sponsor and write Spain. And the end date, I don't know if you caught it, said here finally defeated 1521 was when the explorations ended. So 1521. And finally, the impact. Okay, I'm thinking you're guessing he's not that nice of a guy also. So he mistreated or killed the native people, the people that were already there, as did many of the explorers that we're learning about. And he also spread diseases. Sorry, I had an extra little mark there. The disease that they mentioned specifically is smallpox. Okay, next one. So you're going to turn your packet. And we're going to look at our next page, which is page 53. A little picture up top that you can see. So I'm going to scooch mine down here. Jacques Cartier. Jacques Cartier. And again, we are on page 53. This is section 5.6. We're going to be looking for all 6 things about this explorer. And first things first, I know you see the map. It's right here. So it's off. It was a little bit on a different angle, would be pointing at Michigan, but not quite. So here's Michigan, and I see that arrow is right here coming down. So on your map, you want to get as close to that picture as you can. This is what mine looks like. So we just came from a very different area. The last one we were down here, now all the way up here on the map. So they weren't exploring the exact same area of North and South America. That's why they were able to create so many different maps to help people navigate through the world. All right, we're gonna be looking for these other 5 things as we read. In 1521, let me scooch this over. In 1521, Spain reached Asia by sailing around the southern tip of South America. Explorers had learned that the Americas lay between Europe and Asia, but people still thought that China was not far beyond the west coast of North America. King Francis I of France hoped to reach China's riches by sailing across North America, but no one had looked for such a water passage. In 1534, the French king sent an experienced sailor and navigator, Jacques Cartier, to find the Northwest Passage. So it says here that Jacques was an experienced sailor and navigator. So for occupation, you can just write sailor. And they did just mention sorry, let me get my page right here. They did just mention that he was sponsored by France. And you're also kind of told why here. He was trying to find this passage right here, right? So it says, where are the words here? To find this Northwest Passage. So that was one of the motives here. So I'm going to go to motives, and we're trying to find the Northwest Passage to Asia. Everybody was trying to get to Asia because they had the silks and the spices. They had things that they wanted there. All right, back to the book. We're still in this second paragraph right here. And I think I'm just going to start right from the beginning again in this paragraph. In 1534, the French king sent an experienced sailor and navigator, Jacques Cartier, to find this northwest passage. And sorry, I just caught one more thing. It says in 1534, that's when they sent him. So that's the starting date, 1534. Okay, I'm not going to read the sentence again. I'll start with the second sentence. Cartier sailed west to Newfoundland in the present-day Canada. He entered a large gulf through a strait, which is a narrow waterway between two large land areas. He claimed the surrounding land for France. Then he saw a waterway leading west, but his ship was low on food, so he had to return to France. So right now there is an impact there. He claimed land for France. So one of the impacts, claimed land for France. Okay. The next year, King Francis sent Cartier back to explore and map the waterway. Cartier reached its mouth on the feast day of St. Lawrence. He named the river the St. Lawrence. With Indian guides, he sailed almost 1,000 miles upriver until his boat could go no farther. He visited an Indian village and brought its chief back to France. The chief told the king of great riches farther west. In 1541, the king sent Cartier on a third voyage to set up a French empire in North America. He took more than 100 settlers. After enduring 2 harsh winters, Cartier and the settlers gave up. In 1542, they returned to France. Still, Cartier had staked France's claim in North America. 60 years later, New France had its permanent settlers. So a couple more things to finish filling out here. They did talk about the riches that sent them on this second little journey here. So another motive would be to gain riches. We did get the end date. It says in 1542 they returned to France, and that was it. So he explored from 1534 to 1542. Some other things, some other impacts he had. He provided new information for maps. So I'm just going to say provided new map info. And he did establish a settlement. People settled down there because of him. Established a settlement. All right, those are your 2 explorers for today. We'll do 2 more tomorrow. See you then.